So what are we doing?
Smokin Poetry Podcast.
Oh,
is
yeah.
back at you. I'm your co-host, Sarah Garlick.
I'm Mike Harris, and today we have Jacinda Gabby.
Hi, I'm Jacinda Gabby.
Jacinda, we are so excited to learn more about you today. I think, first and foremost, we should tell them what you do and who you are.
Okay.
That was very broad, I know.
I'm Jacinda Gabby. I'm a poet. I have lots of poetry.
Okay.
I've been featured in a poetry book, which is nice. And I mostly just go to open mics around Colorado Springs, so
Yes.
I don't really have like a specific one, but I like the Ultra Flat Black Lounge the best.
Oh, cool. And then
Yeah.
where else do you go as well?
I've done Fritzy's.
Oh,
That's
cool.
usually on like Mondays, and then I go to Bar K.
Yeah, Thursday nights. That one's pretty good too.
And then I did like a Black History open mic recently. It was at the library.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what kind of poetry, what kind of things do you like to write about?
My personal life. So everything I write about is very personal. It really happened to me, or it really resonates with me. I've met poets who can write about like trees and candles, and I write about real stuff, like what's really going on in my life. Yeah.
Like what types of, or how much have you written, and what have, you mentioned something about a book, like where is it?
Yes. Okay. So
where can we find that?
I
Absolutely.
was part of this. Well, I still work with this nonprofit. It's called Finding Our Voices, and they have a book. It's called Resiliency. It was released like 2 years ago, I want to say now. But you can go on their webpage, findingourvoices.org, and they should be able to. They may still have the book. I'm like, I don't know if they're still selling it, but hopefully they are. And I have lots of poetry. I think I've been writing since I was in high school, so I have so many poems. I have poem books and just
wow.
journals of poems.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Have you thought about publishing maybe like a compilation of your poems?
I have, and some of my older poems are really good. Like I go back and reflect on them, and I'm like, oh, that's a good poem. I should maybe make this into a book. But at the same time, I love to like write new poetry and always come out with fresh material.
Well, yes, of course. I think that's important. I think it's also important to like honor that past self though too, because
Yeah.
I mean, who you were back then shapes who you are today, and those experiences that you're writing about.
That is true, and I think I have a lot of poems about my friends from Austin, and they would probably be super blown away by the stuff I wrote about them.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Thank you.
So I always like to try to force these awkward transitions to try to get us to share some of the poetry.
Okay.
Would this be an opportunity? Anything like, what have you been doing that you would like to share, that you've
my
been
gosh.
talking about?
Is there a part of your life you'd like to share with us today?
So I do have a new poem. So a lot of my material deals with like abusive men,
Yes.
social injustices,
Okay.
just things that I've actually experienced. And so I do have a poem right now that I've never ever let anyone hear. I've never performed it.
Cool.
I was going to perform it at this open mic, and they literally were like, I got on stage and they're like, just one poem. I was like, darn it, I had 3.
Well, this is quite the honor.
Yeah.
You can do all 3 if you'd like today.
Oh my God!
Absolutely.
Thank you. I may just start with one. Do I do it now, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, this is called A Date. He said, "Is that your real hair, and can I touch it?" as he sat down for our dinner date. He said, "I didn't think you would be this smart or actually know what you're talking about," as he passed me the salt for my entree. He said, "Man, I love that song by that one rapper. You know who I'm talking about," as he shoved fish in his mouth. He said, "I had a crush on Beyonce when I was a kid, so I've kind of been into black girls all my life," as he took a sip of bourbon. He said, "Wow, you're beautiful for a black woman, and I can't wait to go home and tell my friends I have jungle fever now," as he poured me my 6th glass of wine. He said, "Wow, I can't believe you've been to Europe and Central America, or that you ski. I didn't know black people did those things," as he shoved dessert down his throat. He said, "I can't wait to do this again," and I stopped him and said, "Really? Do you think we hit it off?" As you came at me with false stereotypes that you got from media archetypes? Do you genuinely think I want for a moment longer to listen to your bullshit about how you didn't think I was a human being? Wow, you're terrible at foreseeing. No, I don't want to see you again. Why? Because you never saw me or colored women. You came up with ridiculous ideologies, and that's the problem, honestly. I don't always listen to rap, and do not take this as I'm about to finger snap. All I'm saying is you don't go home and tell your friends I'm with the white girl or that you have snowcap fever. So why are you doing that to me? Is it because you see me as some object like your ancestors did? No, you're not that smart to try and enslave me, because that would be crazy. Maybe you're not that kind of belligerent, still, you're the epitome of ignorant.
Wow. And that was
yes.
that was raw.
Thank you. Yeah.
I love how you stood up to him. Yeah, that was that part that got me, because he was acting so out of fucking pocket.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
That was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. And then you're like, as if you would expect that.
Yeah.
Love that, yes.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, and I've experienced this, or I know a lot of black women have experienced this, where someone says something and it's like, did you really not think that was offensive? And there are people who like don't think that, and I just wanted to write a poem to highlight, like, it is offensive.
Think about your impressions on people.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the way that you leave somebody feeling with the words that you speak is extremely important.
It definitely
extremely
is.
important.
Yeah, so that's those are the poems I write.
I love that you highlight the really important thinking things within this life. I've noticed that about I met Jacinda at an open mic at Jive's Coffee Lounge with our friend Sarah. She's cool as well. She's also another poet.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, but ever since I've met you, I've just noticed that, like, that realness, that no bullshit kind of shit. I love it.
Thank you.
I love that you highlight that. You make us think.
Thank you. I've been told I'm very raw on stage. I will go and just say exactly what happened, and people...
Yeah, there's not hiding it. There's not hiding it.
Well, and some people are taken aback. Like, I have friends who are like, wow, you're so brave. Like, you just went on stage and said everything. I could never do that. Like, I'm never going up there and doing that. And I'm like, oh, well, I like that. That's what I bring to my poetry.
Honest. Yeah, extremely honest.
Yeah, and thank you for doing that. And get part of the motivation of this whole thing we're doing is that there's nothing to be ashamed of for going through these things and being treated like shit, frankly.
It's important to talk about these things because then we can relate to each other.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping with this poem that maybe there will be a few people who listen to it and they're like, oh, I've done that and I didn't realize I was being offensive, and now I don't want to be offensive again.
Yeah, because it's never too late to change and to be honest.
Absolutely, I believe in that.
I'd rather be honest and change and figure it out than just like stuck in the same way over and over again and like know it, you know?
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with making mistakes. I think we've all said stuff that's like, I just offended someone and I didn't know I was doing that.
Yeah.
So it's always nice to kind of like reflect back on things and say like, okay, I'm going to change now.
Yeah, I don't want to make somebody feel that way again.
Yeah. This is awesome, guys. I like this.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here today.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about, besides the poetry, what kind of stuff are you doing in your life?
So I'm a writer. I write grants for like small nonprofits. I work with a large nonprofit. I'm writing a book. I'm hoping to have it done by May 13th. That is my deadline, and I'm hoping to like honor that. But I like, so in writing this book, it's about human sex trafficking. And so like I did research and I learned a lot about that subject. So it was very interesting. I did have an editor who was not very, he just was, I don't know if it was because he was a man or what the dynamic was between us, but he really didn't help me out. So I found this new editor. Her name is Gina Salmon, and she's so amazing. And she has helped me like really dig into the topic better. And I'm hoping that it's going to be a good book. Yeah.
That's amazing.
And,
where will you post about that happening?
I will post it on my Instagram, on my Facebook. I'm thinking about making a YouTube channel because I have so many, like I film myself with open mics, or my friends will film me. So I have like footage that I should probably put out there.
Yes, it would probably be on just like your Jacinda Gabby pages.
Yeah. So
Jacinda Gabby on Facebook, and then what's your Instagram?
It's at Jacinda_Gabby with 3 B's, and
Linked
that's it.
Down in the bio.
And when you get YouTube, send us that link and we'll put it in the description.
Yes.
Thank you guys.
Yeah. stay tuned for updates.
So tell us a little more about the book.
So the book is about a woman who meets a friend, and her friend gets her into a precarious situation, and you start to understand why people would want to be in human sex trafficking, because a lot of people think human sex trafficking is like taken, like you're locked in a basement, and that's not what human sex trafficking is. It's really a lot of it is more willingness and participation, and so it's a psychological kind of situation going on where someone is psychologically convincing you to do these things and be a part of a situation that you may not want to be a part of. So really want to highlight that.
I'm sorry,
no.
especially children who grow up being abused, because then they actively, like, I know for myself, I actively started putting myself in those situations where I'm not necessarily most comfortable and I hate it, but that's what I know, and that's where I am comfortable because that's what I grew up in. And that's why it's really easy for them to just get into that mindset and get into those situations and then not know how to get out. And also I want to highlight that I think some people get themselves in situations and they're like, well, how did I get here? And it's like, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. You just need to get out. So, but that was a very interesting topic to learn about. Definitely having fun writing it. I'm on my second draft, so hopefully How
I can
many
clean it up.
drafts usually do you think what it takes?
15.
Damn.
So I work with an editor, and she's published, hundreds of books. And so she's worked with people who work with large publishing companies, and she's worked with people who are like indie, I'm going to self-publish. And so she's told me, she's like, well, so for a book to make it to a New York Times bestseller, those books have been edited 4 times, and they've gone through like 4 different proofreaders and
perspectives.
So like when someone's producing a book or when a book comes out, it's gone through so many different drafts. It changes, especially if you're working with a big publishing company, they will change your writing.
Just like being a big time model, they're definitely gonna shop something.
They're
like, don't do it, and then most times they do it anyway, but it's fine.
It's kind of why I want to start doing like more indie stuff and self-publishing, and definitely putting myself more on social media. And they have various forums that you can go on and just put like a chapter of your book, and then if people like it, they can pay for another chapter and then another chapter. And once you get to like chapter 5, you can like publish your book because you have like this following.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That cues me to any poetic writings about this subject of like either human trafficking or the writing or publishing, anything like that.
No.
We might just have to wait for the book.
So
we
like
might just have to get excited.
So my prologue is a poem. And my editor was like, so like your prologue, just so you know, like most people don't read the prologue. It's actually something that a lot of people skip over. And so she was like, a lot of people don't read it, like, but the prologue tends to tie the book together. My prologue is a poem. If you don't read it, you'll still get the book. You'll still get the idea. But my prologue is a poem about human sex trafficking.
I thought so. Can we hear it?
Yes, please.
I'd have to,
it's more meant to capture the essence of it. Yeah. That makes sense.
Sorry, I'm like...
You're good.
I don't know if we're editing that or not, but I'm just going to keep it and make it funny, because I got to remember we're live when people look at me and I'm looking over here in the middle of the shoot. It makes it raw. We're a podcast, not a TV station.
That's true. That's very true.
Okay, I have it, guys. I pulled it up.
I'm so
I don't know why I feel like I need to move closer to the mic. I think it's just like open mics. I'm so used to being like, I need to get right up to the microphone.
It's extremely directional.
This is the
a very general mic.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can lay back and we should be able to get you.
Oh my God. Okay. Thank you. Okay. The strip club wasn't bad, just the people who came inside. But even those people had reasons to be degenerates. I believe the world spit out the nonconformists and put them in there. It was a place we all connected, where we could be our worst selves yet still be at our best. Some of us competed with each other, men and women. Some of us walked in, did our business, and left. If you ask me what I regret, I would say nothing. Those people were my family. On my worst days, I would go to work and have the time of my life. I could drink as much as I wanted, snort as much as I possibly could, and make as much money as I imagined. There, I met women who uplifted me and women who deceived me, but none of it was bad. I missed the times we all sat around and talked locker room talk with blunts and bourbon in our hands. The aroma of cigarette and pussy juice filled my nostrils as some girls talked about her boyfriend not making enough money, or how some girl was set to go to Vegas just for fun, or how some girl's customers paid just to lick her toes. The customers were better at the gig than we were. They too had stripper names and felt ashamed to tell their families about the strip club they frequented. That created a bond, our bond to them and to each other. No matter who thought we were bad, we had the club. We could travel the world or spend every day in that place. No matter what it was always there. It was a constant. Boyfriends could leave you, not being a good girl, boyfriends could leave you for not being a good girl, but the club never left. Addiction could rise, but the club never judged you. You could do things that some would consider sex work, but in the strip club, it was normal, it was survival, it was life. And the stage was the very best part. On rainy days when I walked into a grocery store and a man doesn't even look at me, I remember being the center of the room. I remember the lights hitting me and drowning out the faces of the patrons, considering whether or not I'm worthy of their money. I feel the sweat down my back as I flip upside down on the pole and the rush of my blood as I do tricks most women can't do. I get energized thinking about all the $1 bills I pulled out of the tops of pantses using only my mouth. The strip club was the best place, if I'm being honest. There, you walked in a girl, but within a few months soon became a woman. Everything you didn't know about men, you learned, and everything you didn't know about women, you were taught. The rules in the strip club varied, but it was never like normal life. Where else can you walk in a regular woman and leave feeling like a star? It would be the guys who wanted to pay me for my underwear that made me think, man, am I Oprah? Yeah, I look back on the days of the strip club. That place was the only place I understood. I sit in the real world today and talk to people and feel the rules of the strip club creep up. I think things like, I wish this man would shut up and just fucking pay me. Or catch flights, not feelings, and I have to swallow down words before they spew out. Sometimes I'm in public and a girl will start talking about how she makes money on OnlyFans, and I laugh inside, because before OnlyFans, there was the strip club. Before women realized they can make money by giving a man attention, I was already doing it. So when I think back to the strip club, I think about better days, happy times, mistakes, losses, wins, money, and of course sex. And no, not actual sex, but the idea of it. The tingle you felt while giving a dance, or the pleasure you received once 3 songs ended. Those days were different, but if you ask any of the girls I used to dance with, will tell you the same. We miss it.
Okay. Wow.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Okay, what did you guys think?
That was very powerful. There's so I don't know where to follow up.
Okay.
But we're also at appropriate halftime where the viol's going to
gosh.
get weird, so why don't we do a halftime break?
That's true.
Okay,
Guys.
guys.
Oh, you have the remote. And you're saying, and you can say that too on camera.
Okay. Yeah, no, I just love that you're able to storytell in such a way that it doesn't feel like you're listening to like generic poetry. It's like I'm like captivated instantly from whatever you're like. I'm like, where is the story going? Like, I want the rest of the story.
I know. I wanted her to read chapter 1.
Sucks you in.
Like,
Thank you, guys. Oh my God.
I saw chapter 1. I was like, all right, Jacinda, let's go.
like, that's the prologue. Like, I'm definitely trying to read the whole book, because what are we about to get into? It's so mixed in.
Yeah.
She said it was good, but it's all sounded conflicting. Like, I don't know, but I want to read the whole book. It was great.
Thank you. Oh my God. My editor told me that my book at this stage, she's like, well, and she knows my story and we have an outline, and she's like, it's confusing, but it's good confusing because you keep I want to read more. She's like, what's going to happen? What's going on? And I'm like, oh my God, thank you. So I appreciate all this, guys. Yay.
what do you want people to know about this experience of your past? Or I don't know what you do or do not want people to know, but this is your chance.
Well, I used to be a dancer, and so that was my life, fun part of my life. And that's actually how I learned about human sex trafficking, mainly by meeting women in the strip club. And I was like, oh wow, okay, this is all going on. And this is how I learned it was like willing, and people are willing participants, and kind of started. So at the time I was in college, I got my degree in psychology from the University of Texas at San Antonio. So I was so intrigued by the psychology of the strip club. I was like, wow, these girls with these dreams, or some of them who are just like, oh, I'm just here for 2 months, that's it, I'm leaving. So I started to kind of learn more about that environment and human sex trafficking. And then afterwards I did some actual research on human sex trafficking, and I learned that I do know what I'm talking about, and I do know like what that subject is. But when I read about it and kind of researched more, I was like, wow, there's a lot going into like what's happening. And also, like, one thing about this book is it's called Toxic, and it's about why people stay in toxic relationships. And I think you hear from the opening, like, she's kind of conflicted. She kind of she doesn't know that it could be toxic. Maybe she thinks it's toxic, but I learned that in the strip club a lot, it was toxic. But everyone was like, but this is the best place ever. So I really wanted to talk about it.
But they choose to ignore it.
Yeah, oh yeah. But I also feel like there were like some happy moments in that time period that I would love to like highlight, because I think that there's reasons why people do things, and there's reasons why people stay in like toxic situations. And a lot of it is like it's fun, or there's connection, or there's a bond, or I feel like these are my people. Yeah. So I'm excited to actually finish my book. You guys make me feel so good. I'm excited.
We're excited for your book.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you're doing?
No, that is it. I'm trying to think.
I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot.
The lawyer in me wants to cross-examine something here just to make sure we're clear with our audience.
Okay.
Because we've been using like phrases like human trafficking. What do you mean? Like, and then dancing. What do you mean? What is one? What is the other?
And like.
Mike more so needs these definitions.
Yeah, we all do.
I'm joking.
Because those words can mean many things, I think.
Yeah, so human sex trafficking is pretty much you're having sex for money, and you're giving it to a pimp, or to, a pimp, madam, someone who's going to take advantage of you. Stripping is more of just dancing and using your art and all that. But of course, when you go to a strip club and there's these suggestive things going on,
the two can coincide.
Yeah, or I mean, what's really interesting is I've worked at like over 20 different strip clubs, and there's always like a group of women, usually from like Central America, South America, and they're not dancing, and you know that they're not dancing, and they like don't want to talk to you, but they like willingly do it, and it's to support their family or to help out back home. And so human sex trafficking is basically willingly participating in sexual acts for money, and then giving it to somebody for a better life. That's what they sell you, but it never ends up like that, guys.
Yeah.
And so just being in that environment, I did meet a lot of girls who were being trafficked. I heard a lot of stories about human sex trafficking and what that entails. And most women are like, oh no, this is my boyfriend. We're dating. And then, 3 months down the line, she's doing crazy stuff. And I've talked to women, and I'm like, he's not your boyfriend if he's taking your money and he's making you go to work. Because that's like the number one thing is like,
that's your boss.
Yeah. And so it's pretty interesting how women fall into that ideology of like, no, this is my boyfriend and I'm doing all this stuff, but what they don't understand is it's trafficking.
Yeah. Is it maybe kind of like a form of brainwashing, do you think?
It is, yeah, definitely cult-like, definitely more so, they kind of get into your mind. There's like 3 different types of pimps, but what they all do, and what is the common theme, is that they pretend like they're your boyfriend, and then eventually things escalate. So it really speaks to abuse victims as well, because I think that in order to be a pimp, you have to have that abusive kind of component in you.
And manipulative tendencies in order to be able to make somebody think something that's not actually happening, and also at the same time, like, somebody who doesn't have necessarily a sense of standards in a relationship like that will take a lot less than what they're deserving of.
Exactly.
Because they don't necessarily know or something of that sort. There are so many different walks of life that can kind of train people into taking less than they deserve.
Yeah.
And not demanding more.
Exactly. So
What are the 3 types of pimps, by the way?
so there's the gorilla pimp, there's the Romeo pimp, and there's the it's like a business pimp. So let me just explain.
Yeah, what's each?
The gorilla pimp is the guy that pretends to be your boyfriend for a month and then he starts beating you. But at that point, you're like too ashamed to leave him, so you stay. And so then there's the Romeo pimp who's just like, I'm your boyfriend, and he's sweet talking you and doing all these things. He says stuff like, you have sex for free. Why wouldn't you just do it for money? And then the business guy is the same kind of way of like, we have to make money. If you sell yourself, then eventually you'll be able to buy a business. Or they tell a lot
Fuel
of
you with like goals and dreams and something bigger but it really
and like give me your money. I'm saving it for you. And then they end up, a lot of times I've met women who have been left by their pimps. Who are like, he just left me outside in the cold and took all the money, took all the cars. So,
goddamn.
But most pimps have 2 of those character types. It's not just like, this is a gorilla pimp, this is a Romeo, this is a business. It's definitely like they
intermingled.
Yep. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's cool that you know these things. It's also really important to be able to spot things like that in this life, because you never know who you're interacting with and stuff like that. So like, I know from personal experience, I've had to like figure out how to read body language in order to not get in with an abuser.
Okay.
You know? Yeah. It's because there are like there are micro expressions, there are ways that people speak, because when people speak, it is with intention. Obviously there are like, people slip up and do things like that, but most of the time, like if you're gonna say something, it means something. And so that's how you can kind of tell if people have ulterior motives. Some people are really, really good at hiding it, and then they like present themselves a certain way and then are a different way behind the scenes. But I've like kind of been able to be, because I've had to be hyper aware of it.
Okay.
Because I was putting myself in active situations with abusers, and had to learn how to spot those things of like the little minute, little tiny responses are so extremely important in the way that somebody treats you in order to be in a good relationship, or like with anybody, friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, bosses, everybody.
I definitely believe that. Yeah. I'm gonna start looking at body language now.
Dude, yeah. yeah.
70% of all communication is like nonverbal.
You can say it louder. Make sure let's pick up this so the mic can get
Say
with
say
our
for the
studio
people in the back,
audience
for
and
sure,
next
for
guest.
sure.
70% of all communication is nonverbal.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell a lot about someone by their behavior.
And their little tiny scrunches of the nose and the smiles of contempt,
They're like
verbal patterns.
They're like you can always tell those little things. You're like, okay, so clearly my presence makes you uncomfortable, but you're not ready to say that. So
Okay.
you're giving me this.
Or you're trying to sweet talk me because you're trying to get something out of it. Yeah.
Like I can clearly tell you don't really care about the pink in my shirt right now. You don't care. But what you do care about is what's on your mind.
Yeah. Well, it's like keep you here while I'm over here doing this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've learned that abusive people don't take responsibility for their emotions, and that's the number one way I know that you're an abuser. I'm like, oh, someone made you mad, that's why you're acting like that, or someone did this and that's why you're doing that. It's like you're not taking responsibility for your behavior.
It's not an excuse.
Yeah, and I've learned that's typically only a trait in abusive men. Most people are like, hey, I know I did this, and I'm sorry. Abusive people are like, oh, you made me mad. That's why I did it.
Yeah, for real, yeah.
Yeah, and
therefore you deserved it,
yeah.
Even though that was like extremely out of proportion. When I spilled a glass of water and then you fucking scream at me, like that's not okay. But because I spilled a glass of water, therefore I deserved you yelling
Yeah.
at me. Yeah.
Oh my
absolutely
gosh.
not. I made an honest mistake.
And people are allowed to spill water, so no, I've also
Or
learned.
more so, like, if you're trying to teach me, like, because I was a young person, if you're trying to teach me, just, like, take a second and be like, hey, this is why we need to be aware of our surroundings. So I'm not going to learn anything if you're screaming.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
I was going to say something else where you kind of hit me because you're like how people don't take responsibility and have an excuse. And one thing, whatever I want to call him, biological father, his excuse was, well, his dad was abusive, so he's can be abusive. He learned it from his dad, therefore he can just be even worse.
Generational.
And,
That's why we're also
and-
so lucky to have, like, the medicine we have today.
Yeah, and we can break free from those patterns.
I think it's really nice that they've started to draw awareness to mental health and just kind of like if you're not in a mentally well state, take that seriously. I think some people think that, especially in abusive situations, they stick around and they're not mentally well. And I just know that I was in an abusive situation, and something that really brought me out of it was someone or my family and friends bringing to my attention, like, you're not mentally well, like, go to a therapist, start talking to therapists. And I was like, oh my God, I was in an abusive relationship. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was just taking responsibility. So it's really nice to just take care of your mental health.
Absolutely. I actually understand that as well. Like, I'm really glad for my family putting me in therapy because I was very young. And so I didn't really, like, my dad's, like, his way of going about things was to yell and get angry and do stuff like that.
Okay.
Well, and also there's an array of things, but that one specifically. No, so that transferred to me where I was getting really angry. I was fighting. I was just like didn't know how to express my emotions without screaming or being an angry person. And that's why I was so happy because, like, and I hated it in that moment. I hated it so much. My family had an intervention with me, my mom's side, because
Okay.
I was taking all of my anger out on them. And that wasn't fair. And so I was, like, 12 years old, and they're, like, having this intervention. I'm on the couch, like, this is not my proudest moment. Like, screaming. Like, I fucking hated it to my end. But they were saying, like, you need help. And so I'm so glad that even though, like, I didn't really learn much from that therapy, that I was in it, that I was at least, like, introduced to it, because then after, like, 16, then I was able to, like, I put myself into therapy.
Okay.
And
Nice.
wanted to get help because I was like, there's, you know, I'm living these patterns. I'm experiencing, like, I'm triggered all the time and, like, actively messing with my relationships and hurting the people around me for no reason, and I want to fix it. And so that was cool to experience that at such a young age and have access to that.
That is nice. I cannot imagine you angry, Sarah. I'm
Oh my
sorry. That's
gosh,
what I was
yeah.
thinking. I was like, you're so nice.
Yeah, I try to, like, project that from my brain because sometimes the bad things come into my brain, and also, like, bad tendencies. And so I think as long as you're trying actively every day to, like, be a better person and project outward love and positivity, that's what matters.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I
Jacinda.
believe that. Yeah, raise your vibrations.
Yeah.
But I think maybe a little secret is I think most people, if not 99% of people, have a dark side, have this angry. We just don't. We
Or
don't
angry
want to
or
share.
sad
Yeah.
or whatever it could be. Yeah, they have those thoughts in their head that they aren't the most proud of. But, like, honestly, it's something that I think all of us are going to live with for our whole lives.
Yeah.
So, like, we have to learn how to coincide with them. And, like, well, for me, I know a lot of the responses that I have that I'm not the most proud of are because, so let's say, like, a memory loss one. I hate that I lose my memory sometimes, but why is it there, right? It was there to protect me in situations where I was so young I didn't want to deal with it. I couldn't mentally deal with it.
Okay.
So therefore, that part of me came out to protect me. But now it's doing me a disservice. So it's like, through therapy, you can learn to undo those things and help that part express itself in a way that's healthy and helpful to you in this moment.
And definitely heal by letting yourself know, like, you don't need to act like that to protect me or anything.
I don't
like
need
that.
it anymore because we're not in abusive situations anymore.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for protecting me when you did. Yeah.
That's awesome, Sarah.
I used to try to get rid of them. I was like, bye! And they're like, I'm here, lady. Like,
Yeah.
forever.
Not going anywhere. Nice. Well, I love that you shared that. I'm like,
I'm sorry.
okay. We've talked a lot about
Yeah.
mental health. I'm so excited, guys.
Thank you for sharing also.
Yeah, thanks
And-
for letting me share. I appreciate you guys.
And I know you have poems about about this subject because I've heard.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything on this or something else you would like to share.
Anything you'd like for us to think about today, Jacinda?
I know there's one you're kind of locally famous for at Ultra Flat now, but there's many good ones.
Can we get to, can we just do all of them?
I don't know if I can do all of them.
Oh my gosh, you're scrolling so much. I love it.
Yeah, I write a lot. So I have this poem called I Called My Abuser. Oh, yeah. Okay. I actually like this poem. I actually wrote it. I work at a family resource center right now, and we work with people who are in domestic violence situations, which is really interesting because a lot of people don't understand domestic violence. They don't understand why people, at my job at least, they don't understand why people stay in domestic violence situations. And so I wrote this poem because I understand why people stay in domestic violence situations. It makes a lot of sense to me, but I realize that some people don't know why and they don't understand it. So I just wanted to write a poem to kind of highlight, like, this is what's happening.
Give them perspective.
Yeah.
This would be an honor if you would share.
Thank you, Mike. Okay. This is I Called My Abuser. I called my abuser the other day because I wanted to feel his comfort. Some may ask, how is there comfort in abuse? Well, let me tell you, there's a camaraderie you feel after being physically assaulted than forgiving a person for it all. Because in a domestic violence situation, you change and the trauma turns into pain, then PTSD, yay. And when you have that, you can't leave. Your mind likes chaos like a valley girl likes lip gloss. People think you're crazy and can't understand the storm. That is how the bond with your abuser forms. So you live with the idea that you are alone. That is why you pick up the phone. People want you to be strong, but they don't understand that healing is long. So what is this I'm doing? Why do I keep pursuing if a few months ago I called him abusing? Well, this thing can be sticky. PTSD can be tricky. You think you're okay, then a trigger happens, and you can't get out for the day, and people judge your moves, so you're afraid to tell the truth, but they don't get it. Even when they say they get it, they won't understand until they live it. So yeah, I called my abuser the other day because I wanted to feel his comfort. See, I just had a miscarriage, which means I was provoked by circumstance. Therefore, I'm willing to take a ridiculous chance. My mind wants to run from sad. Yes, my mind wants to help me, so it leads me to bad. It doesn't make sense. I say this and know some will get tense, others will resent. Yep, I called my abuser the other day, and I feel people thinking, what a fool. Oh great, no mental illness for you. That must be cool. See, if it was all terrible, then it wouldn't have been bearable, and sure as hell would not have been shareable, because even though he was dangerous, I would still choose the path that was dangerous. So I feel you, lady, when you go back every time, because not being loyal, that's a real fucking crime. But if you think about your worth, you will remember his behavior on earth. Don't be afraid to envision your rebirth. If you're no longer there, then guess what? You're not headed for the hearse. But to be happy, you're going to have to rehearse. So when you're finally leaving, cry it out and meditate. And remember, darling, it's never too late.
Oh, that was gorgeous. Oh, my God.
Thank you.
Oh, I love that you ended that.
Thank you, guys. Oh, my gosh. Thank you.
You're so powerful.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I do remember the first time I saw you at Ultra Flat, and I think you did another one also, and I just remember I went up to you and just said, wow. Because I didn't know what else to say.
Oh my gosh.
And that's how I feel right now. I don't know what else to say except wow.
Thank you guys. I appreciate this.
Thank you for coming on our podcast today and highlighting. That's why I think people like you are so important in this life, because you challenge your friends, you challenge the people around you to think, and not a lot of people do that.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you want people to know? We talked about so many different things. If there was one thing, I really want people to understand something, maybe some misconception or what you could.
I feel like I'm put on the spot, and I usually need time to process. I mean, I really just hope people know that, it's okay to be yourself, and it's okay to go through stuff, and just because you're stuck in one situation doesn't mean you can't make it out, and just because you were born in one circumstance doesn't mean you have to stay there forever. So that's what I would want people to know.
It's never too late. Yeah, like you said, don't worry, darling. It's never too late.
Yeah.
Or I didn't directly quote you. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's gorgeous. I think that's so important to highlight. Oh, you are so darling, Jacinda. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you guys for
and sharing
having me.
your soul with us.
I'm so proud to know you and being on our little show. Thank you so much, and
we'll see you next time.
Yes.
On the Smokin' Poetry Podcast. Okay, bye.
Do the shaking hand thing. We should do the multiple shake hand thing.
Oh,
We're doing the shaking hand
wait,
thing.
oh.
Let's get this on the camera. We should do it at the same time and twist your arm.
oh, that's so funny.
That might be
Okay,
too
we'll
much.
do that later. Bye, guys.
We'll get